shooting a 1,000 rated round in disc golf is by no means an easy task. It is what is essentially the disc golf equivalent of shooting a scratch round, which would be like even par in regular golf. And if you've played regular golf, you'll know just how difficult it is to actually do that. Now, the rating system by no means is perfect. It obviously has its flaws and there's big differences between courses, but I do still think it stands that with its flaws, it still is pretty accurate at telling skill. And a 1,000 rated round is still very difficult and a great achievement to chase after, which many people are probably still chasing after to this day, to try to get that final 1,000 rated round. I know for me, it was something I was trying to do for quite a while. I even had a round that was 1,005 when I shot it, and they just dropped 10 points off a week later when they became official, which is always something that can happen. Nevertheless, the 2024 season rolled around, I put in all the work, and I was able to have overall a very good season and finally reach that goal of shooting a 1,000 rated round. I actually shot 1,000 or better 5 different times throughout the year. So I'm gonna use those 5 rounds to give a key point for each round into sort of the inner workings of how I actually was able to shoot a 1,000 rated round. I think from each round I was able to learn a different thing after the fact and sort of pick up on what it takes to shoot these 1,000 rated rounds. Hopefully this will help you figure out what you need to do to shoot better and to get these really difficult rounds and get to that sort of scratch golf rating. And it also helped me as my season's starting. I've only had 2 events this year, one of which was a little weird, so we won't talk about it. But the other, you know, I'm starting to get going. I haven't shot 1,000 rated yet. I expect to pretty soon, and I want to push for that as my rating. So obviously I have to shoot about 1,000 pretty frequently to do that. And so this will hopefully help me a little bit in remembering what it takes to shoot a 1,000 rated. We're gonna go from lowest rating to highest rating. It's like almost chronological. The second and third and the fourth and fifth are just swapped, but pretty much throughout the year, I just kind of got better at shooting these good rounds. So first off, my first ever 1,000 rated or higher round was exactly 1,000 rating at Webster Face-Off, end of April last year, which was a tournament coming up for me pretty soon. Now, what I learned from that round after the fact, thinking back on it, what was the key to shooting 1,000 rated there? I think the main thing that I'm taking away from that is that having a dedicated off-season with solid goals in mind, things that you want to work on, ways that you want to improve your game, can be instrumental for becoming a much better player and helping you chase those goals of shooting better rounds and taking down tournaments that you haven't been able to previously. Obviously, this applies to pretty much any time in the year. For me in particular, it was the start of the year. It was after a long off season where I had a lot of things I was working on, but just in any way when you're looking to improve, having solid goals, having a really good foundation and a good track to go forward with and work on things can help you so much in being able to eventually achieve those goals. Be it working on putting in the garage all the time, doing the form work, looking at tournaments, thinking about how I want to improve on certain tournaments. There are all these different things that I was working on, and all that work I put in not only made me so excited to play, but then once I was actually playing, I had a very clear mind and a clear motive to work towards in order to achieve my goals. And so I think setting these goals for yourself, setting a path forward, that's gonna lead you to be successful. And it's what ultimately led me to being able to not only get my first win, but also get my first 1,000 rated round. I think if I hadn't had that off season that was very productive with all the putting and the mental notes that I was taking and sort of the bag changes and all the different things that I was doing to lead up to that and then the tournament leading up to it and working on things, I just don't think if I had been putting in all that effort, setting all of those goals, setting that path for myself to work through, I don't think I would have eventually had that, or it might have taken a lot longer. And so even when I look back at it, I wasn't like the best player, but I was able to shoot a pretty spectacular round because I knew exactly what I had to do when I was doing it. The second round in this list was a 1,003 rated round, also a little bit earlier in the season, maybe more towards the middle now. This was round 1 of the Mindkill Disc Golf Championships. Now, I remember this tournament. It's one I'm always excited to play. I was really excited to play it this year, and I was playing round 1 with a pretty high-rated player at the tournament, Zach Tazone. If any Northeast players are watching this video, you might know who he is. Very good forehand player. And so I was pretty excited to play with him because I didn't always shoot that well, I was excited to be able to play with a good player. And he actually ended up going on to win the tournament. Anyway, me and him were going neck and neck for quite a while. We started on the earlier holes of the course, and so we were playing through the front 9. We were both getting a bunch of birdies. I think we were both at around 4 or 5 down. I think I might have actually been doing better than him. I just know at one point I was at the best score in the tournament, and I saw that because I checked scores and I got in my head, and we stepped up to hole 14, which is not too different from this hole right here, except it has about 100 more trees on the left and right The gap is further down the hill. It's about 150 feet further, and it's way more downhill. I'll throw a video from coverage from a couple of years ago so you can see what I'm talking about. But basically, it's a pretty tight gap hit. It's downhill. You throw a putter, you just get down there. You can get an easy par if you can just hit the gap. Well, for the entire tournament, I didn't hit the gap once. I was at like 5 down at this point, somewhere around there. I stepped up to the hole. I pulled it right. Didn't do very well. Took a double bogey because I struggled to scramble. From that point on, I was kind of frustrated with myself. The next hole, I threw poorly, ended up taking a bogey on it. So I went 3 over through the next 2 holes after I realized how well I was doing, and ended up feeling pretty bad about myself. But I still got to clean up the rest of the round. I can't remember if I got any more birdies, but I think I finished it like 3 down maybe, which ended up being 1,003 rated. Now, at the time, my only thought was, wow, that was gonna be such a good round. I got in my head, I screwed up, that was so stupid. And while that's true, I could have probably had the round of my life up to that point if I had shot clean or even birdied 15 and parred 14, which are totally possible because I think I did end up doing that at some point. It was still my 4th highest rated round of my career. And at the time, I think my 2nd highest rated round I'd ever shot at that point. And so the key takeaway from that is sometimes a round can feel bad. There can be mistakes, things can go wrong, but it can still be very good. No round is perfect. And so after that round, I was frustrated. I actually went on to have kind of a frustrating tournament, missed cash by 1 stroke. I don't really love the way I handled it. And after that round happened, I was so focused on the mistake I made on those 2 holes and screwing up the round that I had going that I kind of forgot to realize the bigger picture was that I shot one of the best rounds of my life up to that point, at least in a sanctioned event. So the key thing to think of is sometimes a great round has a ton of mistakes. A lot of your best rounds are going to have mistakes. And so what is that to take away from? What can I take with me when I go into my next round when I'm trying to shoot well? The key thing to remember is when you make that big mistake, when you totally screw up, you can still have a really good round. I made 2 monumental mistakes, totally screwed up 2 holes when I was doing really well and like really let myself get upset by it. I think even the 3rd hole after the double bogey, I think I still was kind of messing up a little bit, but I still had a really good round. And so you have to just remember to reset during those rounds and remember that rounds will have mistakes. Don't dwell on them because still to this point, it's my 4th highest rated round ever. And immediately after, all I cared about was the mistakes I made. They were big, but they didn't matter that much because the rest of the round was so good. On to the 3rd highest rated round of my career. This was a 1,005 rated round. This is Tree Direction Open 2024 round 2. This is at Emery Park, a notoriously difficult and unforgiving course. Now the thing is, when I look back on this round, it's pretty unremarkable. I look at myself and I really just think I was watching videos that Ellie had taken of me from that round, as she does for many of them, and I'm watching myself throw, and I just can't help but think, man, like, I really wasn't that good. Like, these shots don't look that good. My form looks bad. My putting doesn't look super confident. Like, nothing really looks particularly good. All I can think about was how I'm just a lot better now. I feel like I'm a lot better. Even though it's my 3rd highest rated round of my life, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I just feel like I wasn't that good. And maybe at the moment I felt like I was pretty good, but looking at it, it wasn't that remarkable. When I look at myself playing, I just see an underdeveloped player. The thing is though, an underdeveloped player can still do well. You have to give yourself credit. And that's the key takeaway I have from that round, is that you have to realize that even if you do have your flaws, even if you are still somewhere on your journey where you're working on getting better, and you might look back on those rounds and be highly critical of yourself, you have to give yourself credit along the journey for what you are actually capable of. And I think looking back on that, I'm probably initially not giving myself enough credit because clearly I was able to do pretty well. I consider myself a much better player now, but I've played 4 tournament rounds now this year and still haven't shot as well as I did then. This tells me that at my current level, I'm certainly capable of shooting significantly higher than what I probably think that I'm capable of, because when I look back at myself then, in a retrospect, I feel like that player really shouldn't be capable of being able to shoot that kind of round. At least in my eyes, I feel like I was just a worse player. It's kind of baffling to me that at that point in my development, I was able to shoot that well. And to just extrapolate that to now, that just means now I'm capable of a lot. And so the thing to take away from that is give yourself credit. Allow yourself to believe that you can do well. Don't put yourself down and think, oh, I'm not that good, I can't shoot that well. when you do start to have a good round, remind yourself that you are capable. It might not be your every single day, but you're gonna have those good rounds. And even if you aren't as developed, if you're early or midway through your development, you're still capable of shooting really well. And so even if you're not the best player, and even if you're still developing, you will be able to shoot these 1,000 rated rounds. It's just kind of a matter of believing in yourself and letting them happen when they do come, and so you can learn from them and grow. All right, number 4. This is the second highest rated round of my life. This is a 1,010 rated round from the CCR Open. This is round number 2. So for this tournament, we played an open course, and then a woods course, and then an open course. The woods course is super scoreable. The open course is also scoreable, but a lot of long holes. It's maybe a little bit harder if you don't throw as far. I always thought myself of a pretty poor woods player, which these next 2 rounds will become very ironic considering that fact. So I figured I would play better in the open and maybe struggle a little bit in the woods. First round, my allergies were pretty bad. I definitely didn't come prepared to the tournament, and I ended up playing kind of poorly because I didn't know the course very well. And so I went into the woods round just looking to have an okay round. After a frustrating round 1, I just wanted to have some fun, try and do well, and going into the woods, I knew obviously I had the history of sort of struggling on those technical lines a little bit more than when I'm in the open, so I didn't really expect much. And I think those low expectations, the sort of laid back attitude I had going into it, and then the people on the card also helped quite a bit. It was a very good, lighthearted attitude throughout the entire round.
Oh, he skipped off the basket! He skipped off the basket!
Everyone on the card, I think except for one guy, shot really well, and I ended up having my second highest rated round of my life at that point, and I pured all my lines in the woods. I'm pretty sure I shot bogey free. I played exceptionally well. I stuck to my lines, I stuck to my shot, I stuck to my game plan. I just had fun with my card mates, made sure I was, playing with the right intensity and everything, but also just having fun, staying loose, having a good time. And I think that was a huge key to success. And I think after this, I kind of realized that and continue to try to have that mindset with the rounds that I've been playing. And I've kind of kept that with me now, is just trying to keep more of a lighthearted attitude, because staying loose and not being so uptight is going to help you play well and forget those difficult holes, and also just be confident and not overthink things when you're playing difficult holes. I think you'll rarely shoot high rated rounds if you can't have that kind of attitude. If you're always very pent up and anxious and nervous, you can have a hard time. And when you step up to a shot like this is kind of a difficult shot, downhill, 420, over some water. If you're in kind of like a bad headspace, this can look like a very difficult shot and you can totally mess it up. But if you're in a good mood, like I tend to be in more of my practice rounds, it's a pretty easy shot to hit and you can just hit the gap easily. But if you're sort of high stress during tournaments, it might make a shot that's normally really easy for you a lot harder. Whoa, what a kick. Well, not very good. Finally, number 5, my highest rated round to this point, 1025. This was at the Squala Open, round 2, a tournament I went on to win in a playoff. 2 funny things about this round. For one, I was playing the layout that I shot this round on blind, and I wasn't even gonna play this at all. A third funny thing is it's on a woods course, like I said. So this is actually the weekend before CCR where I shot that 10-10 rated round, which I think the lesson I learned from this course and this round bled into that tournament and honestly the rest of the year. But I basically just wanted to play an event before CCR because I hadn't played a tournament for a couple weeks before that. Just wanted to get my feet wet again, so I wasn't going into a big A tier where I was traveling pretty far without having, some tournament experience back under my belt. We played the long layout round 1, which I had played before, and then the short layout round 2, which I had never played. I found some shaky, poorly shot video on YouTube to get a feel for what the holes were. Kind of tried to pick the discs I was throwing. Most of the shots were fairly straightforward, which was helpful. I don't think you should do playing a course blind if it's a difficult course. It was a short layout, but it was in the woods, so they were technical. I didn't have necessarily confidence on these shots because I had never played most of them before, or all of them for that matter. Some of them I kind of knew because they were within the long layout, but yeah, I kind of just had to just go off of my gut and play what I felt like was the best shot. And that was something I really don't do very often. I always try and practice before a tournament. And somehow, in the woods, last minute tournament, playing it blind, I shot my best round ever. And I actually even went on to win the tournament in a playoff. I pushed at the very end of the tournament after being a couple strokes behind to force a playoff and win the tournament. In a 3-way playoff, no less. 2 guys that were battling it out ahead of me, I pushed up, tied the 2 of them to finish, and then beat them both in a playoff. So what did I learn from this tournament? Well, staying focused, staying on task, making sure you have your best intentions in mind throughout the entire round is super important. course knowledge and other little things aren't necessarily as important as you may think they are. Up until this point, I always thought dissecting a course, making sure I have the right disc, making sure I know what I'm doing in every single hole was really important. And this obviously tore that apart a little bit for me. I realized that I don't need to know a course inside and out to shoot well. Just playing off of my instincts, knowing what I feel is right in the moment, what disc is working for me in that moment, and just sticking to my game and what I know works for me throughout the round was really, really useful. And I was able to play safe, smart shots, make putts, throw the discs that were working well for me without knowing the course really all that well. As I came through the final holes of the round, I was very focused on trying to get as many birdies as I could to push up and force a play out to try and win the tournament. I was so focused on winning. I wasn't thinking about anything negative. I wasn't worried about missing putts or throwing bad shots. I just wanted to try and win, and that's what I was so focused on. And that's actually something that I did during the final round at Webster, which ended up being like 980 something, which helped me end up winning. But it's also something that I did with this round was I was just so focused on the results and what I wanted to do. I wasn't thinking about worrying about anxieties of what was going to happen or how bad shots were going to happen if I was going to miss putts. I just wanted to try and win that tournament, and that mindset, that like laser focus, kept me in the perfect mindset to shoot really well. And sort of tapping into that mindset, I think, is super important, and it makes other things like course knowledge and specific anxieties that you're having less important. Basically, all of that to say, I think your skill alone, the work that you put into things, can take you pretty far, and you should use them to your advantage. Use the things that you've earned and learned while practicing and playing rounds to be successful in the future. Don't rely so much on how you have to play a specific hole and specific things. Use your inner knowledge and your instincts to take you as far as you can, because sometimes that at the end of the day is what's going to be most helpful to you. Hopefully this helps me shoot some more 1,000 rated rounds this year, because I desperately want to in the coming tournaments. And hopefully this helps you as well shoot some of your best rounds of your life, some 1,000 rated rounds if that's what you're chasing, and overall just meet your goals in disc golf. I definitely feel like last year I was able to meet my goals of finally shooting 1,000 rated a couple of times and learned a lot from them, and I'm taking that with me into this year to hopefully shoot a lot better as well. So that's all. Those are my learnings from 2024. Hopefully 2025 can be even better and I can have 10 or more, make the number bigger. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.